Well, the UConn season begins Monday when the Huskies face in-state opponent New Haven at Gamble Pavilion. It'll be the first game at the new Gamble. They travel up to Boston then for a top 10 showdown versus number 8 BYU, and they face number 13 Arizona on November 19th at Gamble.
The Huskies begin December with a matchup against Kansas at Fog Island. Dan Hurley versus Bill Self. I mean, do we have to say any more than that? They also play Florida in a matchup of the last two teams that won national championships. It's also a chance for UConn to avenge the loss that ended their season last year in the tournament.
UConn starts conference play on December 16th against Butler, and then circle February 6th and 25th on your calendar for the matchup against Rick Pitino's St. John's Red Storm. The Huskies picked to finish second in the preseason poll behind the Johnnies. UConn has 3 players on the league's preseason all-conference team and is returning nearly 60% of its scoring. So why are they not picked to win the conference?
Well, Aaron, the simple answer, St. John's. They're the defending Big East regular season champs. They won the Big East tournament. They've got the preseason player of the year. St. John's and UConn twice during the regular season. Those are games that'll tell us a lot about what March will look like.
And with plans of going on another deep tournament run this year, Dan Hurley brought in a bunch of new players this offseason, and he really hopes they complement the familiar faces returning.
Yeah, your sports reporter Dan Booth joins us now to dive deep into the Huskies roster. Dan.
Aaron and Joe, with Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson graduating last year, Dan Hurley and his coaching staff had some big holes to fill this offseason. With how they retooled their roster, adding a lot of talent, the Huskies are certainly deserving of being ranked 4th in the AP's preseason poll. There are 5 Huskies returning from last year's team, including the trio Dan Hurley likes to call the Big Three. Alex Caravan, who's back for his final season in Stores, one of the best three-point shooters in the country in solo ball, and Terrace Reed Jr., who's a force to be reckoned with in the paint.
We know what we got to do on a daily basis, on the court, off the court, and really live up to that standard.
I think we have a really deep team. I think there's a lot of different people who could do a lot of different things very well. And I think that's what's just going to make this year so exciting.
I feel like a better version of me mentally. I feel like that's the biggest thing for me, being able to stay grounded mentally and stay grounded in my faith. That's the biggest thing for me. That's going to keep me going. So having that mindset every time I step on the court, dominate.
There's a lot of excitement surrounding the 2 McDonald's All-Americans on the team this year. Eric Reiba is a 7'1" center from Germany who played his high school ball right outside of D.C. And point guard Braylon Mullins, who has crazy handles and can shoot the lights out of the gym. But Huskies fans will have to wait a little while to see Mullins because he'll be sidelined for the first part of the season with an ankle injury.
The guy's got some of that, like Indiana, Midwest. I don't know. It's like the air or the dairy or whatever. Because he was fortunate. We were fortunate. We were very nervous that it could have been, far worse for him. He's a tough kid, and according to his dad, he's a fast healer.
Point guard depth was an issue last season, so the Huskies used the transfer portal to fix that. Silas DeMary Jr. joins the team from the University of Georgia, and after playing the last 4 years at Dayton, Malachi Smith will certainly be getting some minutes in the backcourt as well.
My job, bring a lot of energy to the team. I think I just do that normally. Yeah, that's one of my roles, just to bring a lot of energy to pick my guys up, my shooters up. Make it easier for my teammates.
Coach Hurley wants his team to be physical on defense. The depth up and down the roster could help the Huskies develop into one of the better defensive teams in the country.
We want to play 9 or 10 players. I see it. I see a second unit being a group that's going to come in, come into the game, and when we're at full strength, being able to press, man, zone pressure, but always making the opponents uncomfortable. I think that's kind of my roots as a coach, and I think we got a talented and athletic roster that can do it.
The Huskies have a few players dealing with injuries, but once they get back to full strength, they could be in a position to have some fun in the big dance again this year. Aaron and Joe, back.